Hi, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to talk to you about Basso by Sospiro. This is a perfume that came out in 2022 and it's by Christian Provenzano. I came across Basso because it was compared very heavily to Terre d'Hermes, which is one of my oldest perfumes in my collection. I think it's a masterpiece and a very nicely done citrusy, woody style of perfume, which is a style that I go for a lot. And I heard all of these comparisons and thought that it would be a safe blind buy for me. So I'm going to tell you how accurate that is, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the way this perfume comes across. I'll also start off by saying that I prefer Terre d'Hermes a lot more than Basso. In the eau de toilette form, in the parfum form, I definitely would choose that over Basso. And having said that, they are very alike. And I think that somebody passing you by, if you were wearing Basso, they might think you were wearing Terre d'Hermes. If you were wearing Terre d'Hermes, they might think you were wearing Basso. So these differences that I mention are, for the most part, they're just like very superficial. So I think that if you like one, you'll probably like the other. But I do prefer Terre d'Hermes. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So the notes in this perfume are grapefruit in the top, then you have mayflower, carnation, and labdanum in the middle. And then the base, you have sandalwood, vetiver, celery seed, black and pink pepper, galbanum, nutmeg, gaiac wood, oak moss, and cedar. The grapefruit in Basso is a tangy and tart kind of grapefruit. It feels dense to me, especially when you're comparing it to the grapefruit in Terre d'Hermes, which is much more airy and fresh, and it feels like there's like a rindiness to it. A lot lighter, but so much more beautiful than the grapefruit in this perfume. It's still nice, but I don't like it as much. It does, though. It lingers through the wearing of this perfume. And that is one of the most prominent notes in Basso is this grapefruit. It's also a perfumey kind of grapefruit. It doesn't smell so naturalistic, in my opinion. So it has that grapefruit, the vetiver, which also can come across as grapefruit. They share a lot of similar qualities. The vetiver in this is not like a smoky kind of vetiver, in my opinion. It's just that smooth, fresh style of vetiver. Then you have all of these spicy notes like carnation, pepper, and nutmeg. And I can pick this up in this perfume, and it's kind of what separates it for the most part with Terre d'Hermes. It has this spicy core, and it doesn't feel like scratchy or sharp the way a very spicy perfume might come across, but it gives this warmth and this depth, this like piquancy. Carnation is a spicy floral, but there's nothing floral about this perfume. The pepper and the pink and black, I believe it was. Pepper can usually come across as like sparkling and exhilarating. I don't get that kind of pepper in this perfume. To me, it's just lending more warmth to this perfume and a general spicy quality, but it's not lifting it in any way. I don't get nutmeg. I can't like pick out nutmeg necessarily, just, giving some more spiciness to it. And then also when I say spicy, it's not a spicy perfume, but it's just, when you're comparing the two, you can pick up this quality that Terre d'Hermes does not have. And it's like it's a creaminess a bit, as opposed to harsh and scratchy. Then there is that Palo Santo note which is a smoky dry wood. I don't really get that in this perfume, but it might be giving some more warmth to those spices and bridging the spices to the woods, which, you know, includes that cedar note. And I do get a fair bit of cedar in this perfume, and that also lends itself to the comparisons with Terre d'Hermes, because that is a very cedar dominant perfume. I'm not getting oak moss necessarily in this perfume. Galbanum, not really. I don't know what celery seeds smell like. Sandalwood, not really. The labdanum, in the description from the Sospiro, the people at Sospiro, they describe it as a leathery labdanum. I don't find there to be any sort of leathery quality to this perfume. Yeah, there's nothing leathery, and I guess the labdanum, if there is any sort of labdanum in here, it maybe is just giving a little bit more depth to this perfume, a little bit more weightiness, but there's no like vanillic tone to the labdanum in here. So I don't really know where they're getting that. I guess that is all the notes. So I guess you could say that Basso is maybe a richer version of Terre d'Hermes. And it's richer in the sense that, like, Terre d'Hermes, to me, is a lot smoother and rounder and more gentle. It's more streamlined, more fluid. I would say it's kind of like honey out of a Honey Bear squeezy bottle, how that is like a golden yellow, very clear color, the light refracting off of it as it comes out of the bottle. And then Basso is more like a jar of Manuka honey, like unrefined organic Manuka honey that has all of those like granules of nature and twigs and royal jelly and propolis in there. It's more concentrated. It almost even smells like if a clone house did a very high strength version of Terre d'Hermes, how you would imagine that higher concentration could screw up the profile. That's sort of how I'm perceiving Basso to be like. So yeah, for those reasons, I do prefer Terre d'Hermes. And I also think that, you know, Terre d'Hermes, it's not talked about in this way so much, but I find it to be like a Your Skin But Better type of perfume. And I don't think that Basso would come across, it's just too dense to be a Your Skin But Better type of wear. So I think that Terre d'Hermes is superior in that way. And I think it's more mass appealing. I think it's going to be more appropriate for more situations because it can sort of fly under the radar while giving you this nice smelling aura. Basso might just be a little bit, there is just something a tad cloying to it, especially if you oversprayed. But like I said, I would say they are like 70% minimum the same kind of smell. And a lot of people would even mix the two up, especially if they weren't that familiar with either of them. I could see them thinking you were wearing Basso when you were actually wearing Terre d'Hermes. And then I'll also say that I was a bit disappointed with the wearing of Basso. I'd heard it was very potent. And in all my wearings, maybe I'm going a little bit nose blind to it, but I don't find it to be that strong in intensity. And it does, I feel like it does kind of wear close and die down within a couple hours. It's pretty close to your skin. Like I said, maybe that's just me going nose blind, but I don't feel like it is as intense as a lot of people say it is. Wondering if there's anything else to say. I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Basso. Let me know if you have any questions or if you've tried it, what are your thoughts? Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye.